So now we are just covering few theories around learnability. I might skip a few slides here because they might not be needed at this stage. Uh, so there are different researchers who will feature in this, and they all have given different types of models of learnability. Why I'm doing this to you is that you can understand what I just told you before this and relate with this particular these theories. Okay. So first one is Honey and Mumford. So they say that learning can happen when people can demonstrate that they know something that they did not know before, and when they can do something they cannot do before, could not do before. Okay. So this person acquires and develops new knowledge, skills, and capabilities and attitudes. So whenever you say that you have learned something, but you cannot demonstrate it, or you could not do something like that you could not do before, that doesn't mean that you have learned anything. Okay. It can mean that you have just read something. It can mean that you have attended a class. It can mean that you have attended a lecture. But if you have not actually become capable of doing that particular thing on your own, it means that that is not learning. The learning process, a number of leading authorities on learning in an organization. Learning is a complex and various. There are various steps covering all sort of things such as knowledge, skills, uh, insights, beliefs, values, attitudes, and habits. The way individuals learn and the extent to which they learn depends upon how they are motivated. Okay. Um, so now what we are saying is that learning doesn't necessarily just mean that you learn something technical. It is a combination of knowledge, skills, insights, beliefs, values, attitudes, and habits, and also obviously how well you will learn, or how to and the extent to which you will actually develop your skills uh, really depend upon how well you are motivated. So if you are not too much motivated to learn something, you will not be able to learn it. Then we are talking about types of learning. I will just come to yeah. So one is reinforcement learning, cognitive learning, experiential learning, and social learning. Uh, what is reinforcement learning? Reinforcement theory is based on the work of Skinner. It expresses the belief that change in behaviors take place as a result of individuals' responses to events or stimuli and the ensuing consequences, rewards, and punishments. Individuals can be conditioned to repeat the behavior by positive reinforcement in the form of feedback and the knowledge of the result. So, what we are really saying is that as we are able, as a human beings or even as living organisms, uh, we tend to learn basis the kind of reinforcement we get. So there can be two kinds of reinforcement: positive and negative, or rewards and punishments. uh, I think you people would have an idea of it, that whenever we are in school or at our home, and whenever we are not learning and our parents or teachers are punishing us for it, it's called negative reinforcement or punishments. On the other hand, when people give you some positive feedback or some gift or some kind of reward, uh, due to that is called positive reinforcement. So in organizations you will find today a lot of things are positive reinforcement. So there are various rewards programs, award programs. People actually appraise you for doing certain good things. You receive some good comments, some certificates, etc., etc. All those things are there to act as a stimuli for you for learning. Uh, now, cognitive learning is nothing but this kind of learning that we are doing right now. So you actually train people on certain things. It involves gaining knowledge and understanding by absorbing the information in the form of principles, concepts, and facts, and then internalizing it. So this is what we are doing right now, cognitive learning. Then comes experiential learning. So people are active agents of their own learning. Experiential learning takes place when people learn from their experience by reflecting it so that it can be understood and applied. So this is what I told you earlier also. that whenever you are at job and you know certain things have to be done, you have got that particular idea, then it is about whether you will experience it on your own or not. So someone has taken a session of you and they have told, okay, this particular things works in this is way. So now if you go back and actually apply it in a test environment, that is where your experiential learning will happen. And finally, social learning. So whenever we interact socially with people, uh, there you will develop this social learning. So uh, this is also very important. You have seen your senior team member or someone who is senior to you solve an issue. So whether you are able to learn from it or not, I will actually relate it to like that, because we are focusing on our technical career. So you should be that much observant that agar aapke, if anyone around you is able to do certain thing which you are not able to do, you must go and seek what they did differently, or just by observing them, sitting with them on the shared screen, or if you are in office, sitting with them next to their desk, observing what kind of commands they are running, observing what kind of entries they are making, what kind of analysis they are doing, you can always learn a lot. So, what I'm really saying is that when you are in an organization, these four types of learning will go hand in hand. So, you must be conscious about this. And now we're talking about stages of learning, right? So, one is this Kolb's learning cycle. We're talking about concrete experience, reflective experience, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. So what we are saying is concrete experience, right? So concrete experiences where you actually uh, like, maybe you're taking this session in which you got an experience of maybe troubleshooting a certain issue, or configuring some policies in Linux, or running some commands to configure a router on Cisco router, right? So that is a concrete experience that you get. Then comes the reflective experience. So that is where you are thinking about that particular thing, and here what happens in your mind is that you start generalizing it. That okay, I will run this kind of command, so this will happen, and in such situations I have to do these things. If someone asks me to configure an Ethernet port on the router, this is what I have to do. So you form these concepts in your mind, and then finally thing is when you put them into practice. So these are the four stages for which every learning will happen. If you will try to put all the examples I have given you, uh, they will fall into these four steps. And as I've already told you, that unless you actually do something from your side, it is very difficult to say that you have learned something. So then there is something also called learning styles. So everyone can have their own learning style. It is not like everyone has to be the same. So for example, accommodators are those who learn by trial and error. Okay, combining the concrete experience and experimentation stages of the cycle. Divergers are prefer concrete to abstract learning situations, and reflection to active involvement. Such individuals have great imaginative ability and can view a complete situation from different viewpoints. Convergers prefer to experiment with the ideas, considering what their practical usefulness. Their main concern is whether the theory works in action, thus combining the abstract and experimental dimensions. And finally, their assimilators like to create their own theoretical models and assimilate a number of different observations into an overall, including explanation. Thus, they turn towards the reflective and abstract dimensions. So, okay, even if the English is sounding too too complex, what we are simply saying is that you might have your own learning style. You might be just accommodators where you do trial and error, you read something, you experiment it, and you learn. Or you can be someone who first of all uh, read something and then you form your own concepts, and then you just learn. You can be someone who takes the divergers to one step further and also do experimentations. In a nutshell, it does not matter what kind of learner you are or what kind of style you have, but at the end of the day, you must be able to learn to do things better and better and better on your job. You must be able to find new areas where you will get more opportunities as you go along in your job. That is the most important thing. I will skip a slide if it is not serving our purpose. Okay. So let's leave this part off. So then, like again, we will talk about conditions for effective learning, right? So motivation to learn must be there. Self-directed learning is must. Not everything that you will be giving a lecture on, not everything in your life will come as a trained course or something like that. So you must have your learning goals, directions, and feedback. So now, suppose Rizwan has spoken about becoming a cybersecurity analyst. So he will have to work. He is a professional. He is going to join a job. He will have to work there for 8 to 10 hours a day. So then he has to find out at what time he will learn about cybersecurity. Similarly, whether he is learning or not, it is helping him or not, he will have to find some mentor who can like take him through that. And then learning methods and learning level. Now again, learning methods. So again, it is similar to this, like whether he will go to YouTube, whether he will go to take a training course, whether he will read a book. So that is what is learning methods. But then he also has to decide what is the learning level. As I told you that uh, uh, you can spend 10 years just learning Linux, okay, and you will have enough material available on the planet to learn Linux also for 10 years. But then that is not the purpose. That is not the goal. We are going to enter into a job. We are right now building our core foundations. Now, depending upon what kind of job we get into, we have to decide to which level we have to take it. So, for example, if you go into a role where your main objective is just to create users and manage user policies on Linux servers, then you will have to go deeper into that particular dimension to do your job well. Uh, it is not a case then this person, if he is studying web server, it will not help him in his job. So maybe after 6 months or so, when he has developed good depth in say user management of users on Linux, maybe then he can start exploring other areas. So you have to see what level you have to reach. uh, and again, we are coming to two more concepts. One is formal learning, which is we are doing right now. Formal learning is a planned and systematic way that and involves the use of structured training programs consisting of instruction and practice. That is what we are doing now. Um, Now, features of formal learning, it can be relevant to some, not so relevant to others. This can happen in a large group. All learners learn the same thing. Maybe a variable gap between the current and target knowledge. Uh, so not necessary that the course I have designed might suit everyone, but right now, because we know that we have limited our scope to one kind of roles, so it's better. Trainers decide how the learning will occur. Problems may occur in transferring learning to the workplace, yeah, often occur in non-work setting. So uh, so you might experience these kind of formal trainings even when you're on job. So as you will grow better and better, companies do have their own training programs in which they might involve third parties to give you better knowledge about subject. That is what is formal learning. And informal learning, I have spoken to you a lot, right? Learning and efforts are relevant and focused in the immediate environment. This is all on-job learning that we are going to talk about here. Understanding can be achieved with incremental steps rather than indigestible chunks. So what you see today is what you're learning. You don't have to go through the entire lecture, like you're spending 1 hour. You have to sit for 1 hour. That is not the case. Learners define how they will gain knowledge and they need. Uh, Learners can readily put their learning into knowledge, right? So this is what you are going to do in your job. Disadvantages, it may be left to chance. Some people will benefit, some won't. It can be unplanned and systematic, which means that it will not necessarily satisfy individuals or organization learning needs. Learners may pick up bad habits, right? So uh, this is what uh, uh, can happen. So we all, as we will start working and you will observe, all senior people will have certain hacks or certain things that they do which are not actually recommended things, right? So when they are doing those things, you might, but because they are experienced, they can play with it. So like for example, someone, our parents, or even you for a matter, you can play with fire, for example. But if a child observes you all and they start playing with fire, it can become a problem, right? So similar to you when you are less experienced, then if you are using those shortcuts, you might end up making big mistakes. So that is what is the bad habit about. So this is about my from my side. This is about the learning part. Why this is important, I have already explained. Learning will have to continue in your cases till your entire career now. Um, so if you can continue with that, you can have plans for you. Then IT industry will provide you opportunities to grow to any level possible, right? You can always choose a field, a dimension, and grow yourself in it, learn about it, and at the same time keep on gaining the experience. So slowly and gradually you will build your skill, slowly and gradually you will gain the experience, slowly and gradually you will be able to build your career in this particular field, if you can continue to focus on your learning, whether formal or informal, as a training, or as a on the job.